my view is I come in with a pretty clean sheet of paper. I also come in knowing that there's a lot to learn. Everything that works in the football world may not work in the golf world. When it comes to that situation particularly, I think the fans have been pretty clear. I think the fans want to see the best golfers competing against each other. I think everybody's a golf fan. I agree with that. When it comes to the situation with Liv, I think that's a complex situation. That's probably something I should learn more about before I speak. But I will say is my focus is on growing the tour, making it better, and really moving on for the position of strength that it has.
Brian, the strategic sports group investment, how big of a factor was that in, enticing you to look into this job in the first place? And do you have a stance on how those funds should be deployed?
I think, the strategic investment had a big influence. I think the investment of capital and the pledge of future capital has been one of the things that have strengthened the tour. I think it's a huge opportunity. Where we deploy that capital, I've got ideas. I don't think I want to share them now, but that's going to be part of the job to get in there and talk about it. But I think they saw what I saw, which is a great opportunity, and just getting sort of the right alignment and the right capital to do that. That's what's really drew me to it. And it's an investor group that is experienced in sports. They're smart. And I will also say I attended my first board meeting yesterday, and the player directors are bright and motivated and focused, and that was really great to see. So I think what I've seen from the board have been very focused on growing the game, looking out for players, and so it was all positive. But to answer your question directly, that was a big factor in my decision.
Brian, we saw Tiger Woods amongst the board members who was here this morning. How much influence in your short time in the role have you seen that he has within the PGA Tour, and how much will you lean on him moving forward?
Well, in my limited experience here, that's been both through the process and through the board discussion we've had this week. I think I would classify Tiger's influence as significant. He works hard. He's smart. He's dedicated. I mean, I would say that about Tiger and all these player representatives and other board members. They work really hard, and they care a lot. And I think the amount of time and work they're putting into this and rethinking this has been very impressive to me. And I think I would point out Tiger specifically. He certainly cares about the game. I won't speak for him. He can speak for himself. But from what I've seen is the amount of time and dedication and work he's putting into this is he's driving – doing this for his not his legacy, but necessarily if he's doing it for the benefit of the next generation of players, and that comes through significantly.
Well, having formed the search committee to find his successor, Commissioner Jay Monahan will transition his day-to-day responsibilities to the new CEO and increasingly focus on his role as a PGA Tour policy member and the PGA Tour Enterprises Board through the end of 2026. So for more, let's get you down to TPC River Highlands, where we find George Savaricas with some player reaction.
And it's certainly been the talk of the town, and if the meeting this morning was any indication, you basically had every player in the field who was on hand to hear from new PGA Tour CEO Brian Rolapp, including PGA Tour board member Tiger Woods, who flew in as well, and we saw Adam Scott. Those two guys were part of the conversations. I spoke with a number of players to get their reaction to the new hire and their feedback on the direction of the PGA Tour going forward.
This is just a new animal. I think it's almost nice that he is not completely like he's been golf his whole life. I think the fact that he kind of brings the NFL is obviously a booming business, and they evolve their product. They don't sit still. He knows the importance of sort of legacy and tradition that we have on the PGA Tour, wants to use that, keep that in the vehicle as well as some new innovative ideas. So I think the fact that he's sort of not all golf is sort of a good thing for us. And again, this is sort of the business arm of the PGA Tour is very new. So it's nice to have someone like him on board. Golf has been in a weird space. I think it was maybe in a bit of a reactive state with the obvious things that have happened to the game. And this definitely seems like a very proactive move by the board and by the tour to sort of get a big guy up front to sort of lead the way. Someone new and someone that's sort of well versed in handling big media deals or sponsors or you name it that has to do with business. We play golf for a living, so there's a lot of things that he said that were very attractive in that meeting.
It's big. I mean, seeing guys like Arthur Blank in there. I mean, NFL fan myself. I know who he is, and being from Georgia, home base, Home Depot. It's awesome to have some of those guys in there because he's been around big business opportunities for a while. Been part of the NFL, which is the best sport in the world. From a monetary standpoint, I mean, they're crushing it right now. So he's been on all sides of it, and just his expertise, his knowledge in that room can only help us on the PGA Tour.
I think, having, a group like SSG and, with Arthur being involved and, these guys wanting to see the PGA Tour succeed and ultimately continue to grow and get better. I definitely think it helped having them involved to maybe reach into, make the pool a little bit bigger of people that we could maybe go after, or maybe at least present it, and for someone maybe sweeten the look of what the job, not just being the CEO of the PGA Tour, but who's all involved, who's invested, the players being invested, and it sounded like Brian's definitely excited, and looking forward to seeing what we can do.
I think with someone that's just very strong and confident in what they do and what they believe in, right? I think in today's world, that's all we could ask for. Someone that believes in the product, believes in us as players. Look, we're a very different organization than a lot of other sports. We're just as golfers. We're not owned by any teams. We're ourselves, our own entities essentially, and it's how do we encompass all that and bring it to the fans. At the end of the day, it's what we're going to be doing for the fans, and I think he's got a good perspective on that, considering his background with the media and marketing side of the NFL.
I was able to meet him and speak with him for a little bit this morning, and it just seems like there's some good momentum right now, and we got an important part of the season coming up with some big events, followed by obviously our playoffs and the FedEx Cup with a change. And, and then to steer the ship the right direction as we head into 2030 and the media rights being up with a lot of options going forward. I think given that was his specialty over on the NFL side, I think he did a great job explaining kind of what he did there and what might translate and what he has to learn in the time being. And then, Jay's been awesome in this process too. And I think those two together as they work through this next year and a half in the transition period, I think there's just a lot of upside, and in a world of golf that's obviously been in a crazy place the last couple of years.
I just want to emphasize to do what's right for the whole membership, and I think Tiger and Adam and Patrick have done a nice job of that, but that'll just be my emphasis. It has seemed top heavy a little bit in the last few years, and I think we're getting back to everybody understanding that it's a whole tour, not just a few guys.
Lucas Glover sharing what he would want to tell new PGA Tour CEO Brian Rolapp one-on-one when they have a conversation. Brian has said that it is instrumental for him to try and meet with each and every PGA Tour member going forward to figure out what the PGA Tour has been doing good so far, what they need to improve on, and wants to hear their voices before he decides which direction and how he is going to form the PGA Tour going forward.